We welcome you to the ANU ILS Career Series, Unravelling International Law. We acknowledge the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples, traditional custodians of the lands on which this interview was recorded. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, as well as any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers. We hope you enjoy episode 4.
My name is Angelique Nellis and I'm the Careers Director of the ANU International Law Society. Today is very special as a world-renowned guest joins me here from her offices in New York for the 4th episode of our video series. She is an icon within this sphere of international law and has rightfully had her leadership recognised through a multitude of appointments, most recently in her appointment as the President of the International Chamber of Commerce International Court of Arbitration. It is in this capacity and her many other notable achievements that she joins us today. Despite the time difference and ever-increasing tasks on her plate going into this role, she has set out some time from her evening to be with us virtually here in Canberra. On behalf of the ANU International Law Society, I would like to warmly welcome the prodigious Miss Claudia Salomon. Miss Salomon, thank you for taking the time to join this video. It is a privilege to have you on our video series.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and really joyful to get an opportunity to talk to you.
I'm very, very excited. So just so you're aware, the crux of the interview will first focus on your numerous appointments, both within the private and public international domain. And then we'll secondly, we'll move on to a wider discussion surrounding the future and the trajectory of international law and arbitration in general. So for our first question in regards to arbitration, your name is quite synonymous with international arbitration. You've been widely recognised as one of the leading arbitration practitioners of your generation. This has been accredited to your sound judgment, effective case management, and ability to quickly understand the crux of certain issues that you face. For law students who look at your status in awe and hope to emulate it one day, what advice would you give in relation to being and becoming an effective arbitrator? In essence, what skills do you think students can hone in during their time at law school or even outside of it?
I think if a student wants to pursue a career in international arbitration and specifically would like to become an arbitrator, then the best first step is really becoming an excellent counsel, really becoming a great advocate on behalf of their clients and getting great experience representing a wide variety of clients in cross-border disputes.
Mm. Fantastic. And I also know that you've traveled quite a bit and you took the opportunity to go to Prague. I was doing a bit of a read up of, and I know that you represented some of your clients in an arbitration against financial institutes, and you actually stayed there for 3 years. So how important do you think traveling is and kind of experiencing the world in that sense?
My opportunity and experience in Prague really kind of came completely unexpectedly. I was really at that point, mid-level associate handling commercial litigation with a little bit of international arbitration. And I was actually practicing in Phoenix, Arizona. And really on 5 days' notice, I was asked to go to Prague originally for a month and stayed for 3 years. My firm had been hired to represent the Czech Republic in what was then one of the largest investment treaty cases brought by an investment bank arising out of the privatization of one of the largest Czech banks. And so I really had the opportunity to go and decided that was something that I was really hoping, ready to experience. And it was an absolute transformation of my practice. From that point forward, I really have concentrated in international arbitration. And while I was in Prague for 3 years, I had the opportunity to handle international arbitration cases all over Europe, both investment treaty cases and commercial arbitration cases. I remember flying one day from Athens to Dublin, or rather Dublin to Athens, which at that point was as far as you could go in the Eurozone. And the last summer I was there, I had 3 hearings in 3 different cities on 3 different cases. So it really was an absolute transformation of my practice.
Wow. So definitely, I think an important thing, I don't know if you would agree, but you never know which experiences can take you where. So always being very open to that and maybe flexible to that.
Absolutely. And I think for students and young practitioners, an important piece of advice is essentially there is a huge amount of luck associated with developments of one's career. But what you have to do is position yourself to be lucky, to be that person who someone would think could handle such a challenging opportunity and be thought of in that way.
And following on from your experiences in Prague, your skills have been seen as your skills have seen you become a profound independent arbitrator in the private sector. So formerly you were a partner at the well-known firm Latham and Watkins and their global co-chair of their international arbitration practice. So during your time there, the work you conducted was described as some of the most complex, high value and significant disputes in the world. What was your most rewarding or challenging experience at the firm, and what do you think law students interested in working within the international private sector should be aware of?
So I really practiced as counsel for over 25 years. And in the last few years that I was at Latham, I began to do a little bit of arbitrator work as well, and had really the opportunity dealing with all kinds of conflicts, to ultimately get the opportunity in a wide variety of matters. And then I left Latham at the end of last year because I had been selected as the new president of the ICC court, wanted to avoid all conflicts, and also launched my independent arbitrator practice. Latham is really known for its incredible management, and really a unique aspect of its management is its committee structure, and associates participate on firm management committees in a really engaged way, including even the associates committee, that deals with progression of associates and all kinds of other aspects of associate life and evaluation. So for example, I served on the recruiting committee with associates, and it wasn't a situation where, partners had, more of a vote than the associates as to who should be brought in. And that whole experience really highlighted how people in all different levels of an organization can have such important contributions. And so much innovation and good ideas are coming from, a wide variety of sources, and definitely not top down. And so for me, that was just a really important and integral part of my experience there, and something that, I've absolutely taken with me and hold dear as I'm kind of launching and starting this new leadership role with the ICC court.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think it's quite comforting to know as well for individuals who are starting off, quite young in this profession, that our voices do matter, and that they're incorporated in those decisions. So,
I mean, in terms of what's going to happen with international arbitration in the future, technology is going to play such an important role in so many different aspects of cross-border disputes. It's going to influence the way disputes are managed, It's going to influence the types of disputes that are going to arise, and it's going to influence the way decisions are made, whether that's incorporating AI or other aspects of technology. And so it is absolutely vital that we incorporate the new generation in our thinking and make sure that we have people engaged in these really important decisions about how we're going to manage disputes and help the global business community resolve their disputes.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great segment into our final section, which is mainly got to do with international arbitration and the future and your role as president. So prior to dealing into the question, I wanted to congratulate you once again on your appointment as president of the ICC in early July, was it?
Yes, I was selected at the end of 2020 and really just started my role on the 1st of July.
Fantastic. Your predecessor noted that you had a universal reputation for your expertise, experience, and specifically unique leadership. So how would you describe your leadership style and how did you come to formulate this?
I think my leadership style is one that other people would view as inclusive, and I really am focused on building consensus. That does not mean that everybody's opinion is going to be accepted, because that can't possibly be the case. The ICC court itself is 195 people from 120 different countries. It's the most diverse ICC court in the history of ICC arbitration. And the stakeholders in international arbitration globally have so many different views and different objectives. And so what I want is for the global international arbitration community, the global business community to feel that they've had an opportunity to be heard. And then hopefully everybody can actually get behind the decisions that get made. I have really focused in the start of my term of assuring that we're not just talking about diversity, but we're also talking about inclusion. It's wonderful to have this incredibly diverse court, but it's another thing to assure that everybody has the tools they actually need to be engaged in the work of the court. So we had a very detailed orientation program to, demystify the acronyms and all the ways in which the ICC court has operated for so many years, just because it's, we do things now because they've just been done that way for so long. And we have so many new court members from many different parts of the world, including in particular from parts of Africa that have never had an ICC court member. And so they may not have the contacts or former court members to reach out to get that source of information. And so it was really important to me to make sure that we had this type of training and orientation so everybody could really be engaged.
That's wonderful to hear. And given that your leadership is very consensus-based and inclusive, as you mentioned, what advice would you give maybe aspiring arbitrators or legal practitioners to find their own unique style of leadership?
Well, I certainly feel like I've had to figure that out as I'm stepping into this role, and will continue to do that every day in this role. As the first woman in this role in almost 100 years, I have certainly a wonderful long history of leaders to look to for the way they did things and learn from them. But I also know that I have to have my own approach and build on my own strengths and utilize them. So I really think one of my strengths, or hope others will think they are my strengths, is really figuring out the strategy and then executing on it. And figuring out what the resources are. The strength of ICC in particular, not just the court itself, is that the court is linked to the broader ICC, the global, which is really the global voice of business, with this incredible history of nearly 100 years of the court, 100 years of the ICC, launched with the purpose of facilitating global business, recognizing that arbitration was an essential tool for cross-border business in the wake of World War I, and those goals, that purpose is no more true than today. And so we really want to build on the network, the global business community, and be that voice, and not just for global business and cross-border disputes, but be viewed as a partner for global business when their disputes arise, so that we can help them resolve their dispute. They view us as the arbitral institution that understands business and can help them, get back to business.
Fantastic. And mentioning that and the changes that's happening really in the ever-changing global sphere, you've previously discussed various changes within international arbitration, such as the increased availability of seats and having the opportunity to have arbitrators close by to your geographical location. You've also mentioned how important the role of institutions are in appointing young and first-time arbitrators. Therefore, in your tenure, what is your greatest aspiration you want to achieve within the ICC? I know it may be numerous, but what do you think young professionals should seek to engage within international arbitration within these coming opportunities?
Yeah. Well, my number one goal is to assure that ICC arbitration is viewed as the most preferred global international arbitral institution in the world as we approach our centenary. That is the absolute objective in my presidency. For young practitioners who want to get engaged in ICC arbitration, I really encourage them to get involved in the Young Arbitrator Forum. It's the organization for practitioners under the age of 40, including students. And I have a special place in my heart for YAF because I was the first chair of YAF when it was just in the United States before it had become global, and really view it as a great way to have leadership opportunities, to get to know not only other practitioners in your city or country, but really globally, and build your own networks and learn so much about international arbitration. So that's, just a great entree point. But I also really have been trying to communicate that I really want to hear from practitioners around the globe, that if they want to see something change, especially in the diversity context, then I really want to hear from you, and that you're not in a context of being frustrated 3 years from now that I haven't accomplished something. So I feel, particularly proud that we have launched as my first initiative since the start of my term, the global call for interest for the Task Force on Diversity, Inclusion, and International Arbitration. Last week, there was an announcement that we launched a LGBTQIA network within the ICC court. And those were, initiatives that for me were important to assure that we are addressing diversity broadly defined, and that diversity is essential to the legitimacy of international arbitration. So it's very important for me that we actually don't just talk about it, but we do something about it.
Wow, and I think you're definitely going to accomplish a great deal, and wish you the very best of luck, in you and the whole team. And I think that ties in quite nicely to my final question, in light of your task force and your focus on diversity and inclusion. So with your appointment actually comes great excitement, with many individuals claiming that you will bring the court to a new level and strengthen its position as, like you mentioned, the best and most preferred arbitral institution in all global regions. Whilst your appointment is in and of itself a notable feat, another remarkable aspect, as you mentioned as well, is that you're the first woman to hold this role in the ICC in its almost 100-year history. But you were also the vice president since 2018, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's truly momentous. And in a recent interview, you spoke about the challenge faced by women in the international arbitration field. So in the next 5 to 10 years, how do you see, I know you mentioned technology, but how do you see or hope to see an increased level of inclusivity be part of the future?
Well, certainly we are focused on increasing the number of women who are appointed as arbitrators. Under the ICC system, about 75% of arbitrators are either appointed by the parties or appointed as the president of the tribunal based on an agreement of the co-arbitrators. So without shirking any responsibility, because we have the 25% or so in which the court appoints either directly or through recommendations from the national committees, we're very focused on diversity in that context. But this is something that has to be addressed by everyone globally. And we have seen in-house counsel and the global business community make demands of their outside counsel to have diverse teams. And it is really incumbent on the in-house counsel, when they receive recommendations or lists of potential arbitrators that are not diverse, that they insist that that they be given different choices to consider for appointment, and that they make it clear to their outside counsel that that's part of their expectation.
And I think on that note, that's a very optimistic way to end, that there will be, significant changes. And of course, that needs to be implemented not only in the ICC, but as a more general and wider concept. But on that note, Ms. Salomon, I want to extend my gratitude and thank you for taking the time to be part of our inaugural video series, Unravelling International Law. Inspired by your trailblazing achievements, it has been an absolute privilege to talk with you. And I know for myself and many other law students watching this, it has really opened our eyes up to the world of international arbitration. So thank you very much.
And thank you and congratulations for launching such a great video series and for taking this initiative. And it really goes to the point I was making earlier, which is the innovation, the initiatives are happening with the new generation. And I'm so excited to see it and be a part of it.
Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.